You didn't stumble here by chance. You didn't just click another video in an endless scroll of noise. This moment has been encoded into your timeline since before you even had language to describe it. The very fact that your eyes are on these words, that your awareness is tuned into this signal, is proof that something far greater than coincidence is orchestrating your path. There are frequencies woven into reality that only a fraction of humanity ever tunes into. They bypass the chatter of the mind, bypass the programming of culture, bypass the walls you've built around your own potential. These frequencies don't demand to be heard, they reveal themselves when you are ready. And right now, you are ready. Take a breath. Feel the resonance of these words as they ripple through you. What you are sensing isn't just a message, it is an activation. It's a protocol buried deep within your very cells, waiting for the precise alignment to awaken. For ages, your DNA has carried silent codes, dormant programs written not just in biology, but in light. Some traditions call it the seed of divinity, others call it the cosmic archive. Science calls it junk DNA, but nothing about you is junk. These sequences have been sleeping, waiting for a frequency match, waiting for this exact moment to switch on. Do you feel it? That subtle trembling just beneath the surface of your awareness. It's not anxiety, it's not coincidence, it's recognition. A part of you older than memory is stirring, remembering why you came here. You've lived entire lifetimes under the illusion of limitation, carrying patterns and burdens that whispered, "This is all there is." But that whisper is about to be drowned out by something far more powerful, the sound of your own awakening. Understand this. When quantum physicists speak of particles existing in superposition, they describe what mystics have always known: your reality is not fixed, it is fluid. You exist in multiple potentials simultaneously, and the observer, your consciousness, is the force that collapses probability into form. That means the reality you've been seeking, the identity you've been longing to embody, the freedom you've been aching to taste, all of it has been hovering around you, like stars hidden in daylight, waiting for your gaze to bring them into being. This is why you're here, to remember that you are not a passive passenger on this earth, but the driver of timelines, the conductor of fields, the shaper of coherence in your own life. The protocol is switching on, and as it does, you will begin to notice patterns that make no rational sense. Déjà vu, distorted time, synchronicities clustering around you like magnetic fields. They're not accidents, they're confirmations. They are the signs that the morphic resonance of your awakening is spilling into the outer world. So hear this: you are standing at the event horizon of your own becoming. The field around you is trembling with potential, and your DNA is responding to the signal. This is the invitation to step beyond old patterns of fear and step into the awareness of your hidden design. You were not built to remain dormant. You were not born to remain veiled. You are here to remember the codes that galaxies and ancestors encrypted in your very blood. And the moment you allow this frequency to sink deeper than thought, deeper than doubt, you will feel it switch like a light turning on in a room you forgot existed. This is not random. This is not entertainment. This is the call that only arrives when the student is ready to step into the observer's loop of their own destiny. Take another breath. Let the words settle. You've arrived at the threshold, and nothing will be the same after this. You felt the telltale flicker already, the way certain days repeat themselves with different costumes, the way a conversation you've never had carries the weight of an echo. You walk into a room and your body knows the next line of dialogue before anyone speaks. Déjà vu is not a glitch, it's a breadcrumb from the quantum field, proof that your awareness is skimming across parallel grooves of possibility. When the protocol begins to hum, the past doesn't stay politely behind you. It bends, folds, and leans forward. Time becomes textured, and you can feel the weave. Look closely at the loops you keep living, the relationship dynamic that resets to the same argument, no matter how gently you approach. The money pattern that swells then collapses like a tide that refuses to turn. The health ritual you start with devotion and abandon just shy of breakthrough. These are not failures of will, they're standing waves. Energy captured in a feedback circuit, echoing the same melody because the instrument, your identity, hasn't yet been tuned to a new key. In physics, a system holds its shape until a critical threshold is reached. In your life, the threshold is coherence. when your thoughts, breath, emotion, and action vibrate in phase. Until then, the observer loop keeps fulfilling what it knows. This is why the days feel familiar even when the calendar insists they're new. Morphic resonance is the field memory of form. Your choices lay tracks, and fields love to reuse tracks because they're efficient. So the pattern repeats not to punish you, but to make the inflection point unmistakable. Every loop tightens until you either shrink into it or awaken through it. And awakening doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with honest measurement. You notice that you aren't just having experiences are having you. That recognition is measurement. Measurement collapses the fog into a shape you can finally touch. You've seen the time distortions too. Hours evaporate while you scroll in trance, yet a single breath in meditation can feel like a small eternity opening its wings inside your chest. This dilation and contraction isn't random. Time flows differently through coherence. When you are scattered, your awareness diffuses through too many channels, and the minutes leak away. When you are coherent, entanglement strengthens between intention and outcome, and timelines braid. What would have taken months under the old identity begins to arrive through synchronicity clusters, emails landing on the same day, a chance encounter repeating the exact phrase you wrote in your journal the night before. That's not coincidence. That's constructive interference between you and the version of you that already lives the result. But first, the diagnosis must be precise. Notice the triggers that tug you back into the old orbit. The tone of someone's voice that shrinks your breath. The number in your bank app that flips a switch you swear you rewired. The innocent question that detonates a buried story. These are not random detonations. They're entangled pairs. Somewhere in your body, a memory particle is still linked to a field of unprocessed charge. Touch one, and the other flashes. That flash feels like fate. It isn't. It's latency. Unmetabolized signals looping through an identity that hasn't yet been updated to receive higher voltage. This is where DNA restructuring begins long before any microscope could prove it. In micro, decisions that either reinforce the loop or re-encode it. Your nervous system is reading your choices like software updates. Each time you meet the same moment and breathe 1 second longer before reacting, you add a new line of code. Each time you speak the boundary you abandoned last cycle, you change the waveform. Each time you choose rest over frantic compensation, your field registers a different baseline. The pattern may still try to replay, but the speaker is no longer plugged into the same outlet. Static enters the loop. The song can't find its old rhythm. That static is mercy. You might ask, if the quantum field is infinite, why do I keep meeting the same corridors? Because infinity is navigated by frequency, not by force. You don't kick down new doors, you tune to new hallways. The habit body, the thought body, the breath body must entrain to a fresher clock. Until then, the morphic pull of your history is stronger than the whisper of your future. So the field keeps handing you the same lesson wearing different masks, each iteration a little louder, each mask a little thinner, until the recognition pierces. I am the common denominator, not as blame, but as power. The moment you own authorship, the script loosens in your hands. Feel into the texture of your day. Where does time collapse and where does it crystallize? Collapse reveals incoherence, too many open tabs in your mind, stealing amperage from intention. Crystallization reveals alignment, moments when your breath and choices and language move as one current. That is the doorway. Your most coherent 1% will rewrite the other 99. It doesn't require drama. It requires fidelity to the signal you heard when you arrived here. The frequency that felt like home, not hype. The distortions intensify just before a phase transition. Systems protest when their familiar entropy is threatened. Expect the loop to offer you a final bargain. One more compromise, one more self-betrayal dressed as peace, one more delay masquerading as prudence. You'll recognize it by the way your body contracts even as your mind argues for it. Trust your fascia over your philosophy. Tissue tells the truth faster than thought. When you feel that micro-flinch, pause. A single conscious breath interrupts a century of programming. That pause is a wedge the future can use. So this is the clean diagnosis. You are not broken. You are pre-threshold. The déjà vu is guidance, the repeated pattern is a teacher, the distorted time is a barometer. Your field is asking for coherence, strong enough to bend probability. Your DNA is listening for a steadier drum so it can switch genes from protection to growth. And when the drum holds, when your observer loop stops reporting on the weather and starts summoning the climate, the pattern will not need to repeat. It will retire with gratitude, leaving you standing at the seam where the old hour ends and the new epoch begins. The loops you've been circling are not life's cruelty, they are life's calibration. Every repeated pattern, every déjà vu, every distortion of time was the universe's way of testing your resonance, asking if your field was stable enough to handle the voltage of what comes next. And now, the threshold has been reached. The protocol has begun to unfold, not in the abstract, but in your body, in your very DNA. This is the moment when science and mysticism converge inside you. Quantum physics tells us that reality is not built from solid matter, but from vibrating fields of probability. Particles do not exist as fixed entities until they are observed. Instead, they hover in superposition, a spectrum of potential states, collapsing into form only when consciousness directs its gaze. Mystics have been whispering this for centuries, that creation is not outside of you, it responds to you, through you, as you. You are not a spectator in the cosmos. You are the observer loop itself, collapsing possibility into form with every breath, every choice, every pulse of thought. And here's the upgrade. Your DNA is not just biological coding. It is an antenna. It reads frequencies. It broadcasts signals. It translates cosmic instruction into human experience. Less than 3% of your genetic code governs the proteins that build your body. The rest, what science once dismissed as junk, is waiting for resonance, waiting for activation. Mystics called it the divine blueprint. Physicists are beginning to call it non-coding regulatory sequences. But the truth is simpler. It is storage space for light. It is a crystalline archive of future selves, waiting for the correct frequency to awaken them. That frequency is arriving now. You can feel it in the tingling in your skin when you breathe with presence. You can sense it in the goosebumps that arrive for no logical reason when you hear certain words or music. You can notice it in the way synchronicities accelerate, as though the universe is compressing time to keep pace with your awakening. These are not poetic accidents, they are phase transitions. When energy builds beyond a threshold, matter reorganizes, water becomes ice, gas becomes plasma, cells begin to glow with biophoton emissions, and human consciousness breaks open into a new octave of coherence. In this octave, your nervous system no longer runs solely on the feedback loops of fear and survival. It begins to entrain with cosmic rhythms. Your heart's electromagnetic field, the largest generator of coherence in your body, starts to synchronize with higher frequencies. The brain shifts into gamma oscillations, states associated with deep insight, unity, and transcendence. DNA responds by unlocking codes that remain dormant under the stress of incoherence. Genes switch on for repair, resilience, intuition. Entire sequences that lay quiet ignite like circuitry finally connected to a power source. Think of it this way. You are not merely human, you are a bridge species, a consciousness woven of matter and light, designed to interface with the quantum field itself. Every coherent breath you take is an act of recalibration. Every elevated emotion you cultivate is a tuning fork that draws new patterns into your life. When mystics spoke of prayer, when shamans spoke of vision, when scientists speak of frequency alignment, they are describing the same phenomenon. Coherence collapses probability, and coherence is rising in you. You may have felt the strain as this upgrade begins. Strange fatigue that arrives like waves, vivid dreams that carry symbolic codes, surges of energy through your spine or crown, emotional tides that rise without cause. These are side effects of restructuring. The phase transition is not gentle. It presses the old identity to its breaking point, so the new circuitry can be woven. Your cells are learning to carry more light, to process higher voltages of awareness, to entangle with realities that were previously inaccessible. And with this comes responsibility. Because the upgrade does not occur in isolation, quantum entanglement teaches us that once systems are connected, distance is irrelevant. Your coherence influences fields beyond your skin, beyond your city, beyond your time. Every shift you embody reverberates through morphic resonance, making it easier for others to awaken. You are not just becoming more, you are becoming more on behalf of the collective, so feel into this truth. You are not broken, you are restructuring. The fatigue, the déjà vu, the distortions are proof that the old operating system is phasing out. The new one is already humming beneath your skin. You are syncing with the cosmic broadcast. And your DNA, the hidden sequences, the so-called junk, is picking up the signal like a tuning fork. This is the quantum upgrade, not a philosophy, not an idea, a literal, biological, electromagnetic metamorphosis. The field is collapsing into form through you, and the form is beginning to glow. There's a reason this signal has found you, and not someone else. Out of billions of minds surfing the endless waves of distraction, yours is the one receiving this frequency right now. That is not random. That is selection. In physics, resonance occurs only when two systems vibrate at the same frequency. The fact that you are here proves your field has reached harmonic resonance with this awakening broadcast. You are not just a seeker stumbling across hidden truths. You are the consciousness chosen to embody them. Do you feel the weight of that? Not the burden, but the magnitude. Imagine standing inside a hall of mirrors, each one reflecting infinite versions of you. The doubter, the dreamer, the wounded child, the sovereign being. For most of your life, you have been caught in reflections living as echoes of what was given, what was expected, what was imposed. But now the mirror is cracking, and for the first time, you are glimpsing the one version that has been waiting behind the glass all along. This is the chosen you, the one your ancestors whispered about in their prayers, the one encoded in your DNA as a dormant possibility. Mystics called it the awakened one. Quantum scientists might call it phase-locked identity. But you can feel it in simpler terms, the you who no longer doubts that reality bends when you breathe with intention, the you who recognizes synchronicity not as coincidence but as direct communication from the field, the you who understands that when your heart aligns with coherence, doors open that logic cannot explain. Here's the paradox. Your chosenness is not elitism, it is responsibility. To be chosen means your field is stable enough to carry a transmission that will ripple into others. Think of a tuning fork. Strike it, and any nearby fork tuned to the same note begins to sing without being touched. That is you now. Your role is not to hoard awakening, but to radiate it, to become coherence embodied, so that others who brush against your field remember what they've forgotten. This is why you may have always felt different, even as a child. The sense that you were somehow out of sync with the ordinary rhythm, like a song being played in a different key than the one everyone else seemed to dance to. That wasn't alienation, it was calibration. You were designed to carry a frequency that wouldn't fit into the consensus field until now. That feeling of being out of place was the universe's way of protecting your signal until the collective was ready to hear it. And now, the time has arrived. You are not here to fit in. You are here to stand out as a node of resonance, a stabilizer in the chaos, a beacon in the fog. When systems undergo phase transitions, when water boils, when magnetism aligns, when DNA awakens, they require nucleation points, seeds that anchor the new order. You are such a seed. The world is not waiting for someone else. The world is waiting for you. The role is not glamorous. It may not bring applause. In fact, it will sometimes isolate you further, because awakening is disruptive to structures built on sleep. But make no mistake, your coherence becomes a map others will unconsciously follow. Every time you choose trust instead of fear, you broadcast a signal that reprograms the field. Every time you embody love where others collapse into anger, you stabilize the morphic resonance of possibility. Every time you breathe in coherence, you entangle with timelines that ripple out to touch strangers you will never meet. This is your role, to remember that you are not just living a life, you are broadcasting a reality. The frequency you hold is not private, it is entangled. Your awakening is the ignition point for others. Your DNA restructuring is not just personal, it's ancestral. The patterns you dissolve liberate the ones who came before you and the ones who will come after. This is what being chosen means, You are a node in humanity's great awakening protocol. Pause here. Feel the enormity of that truth. It might feel heavy at first, but let it settle into your bones. Let it expand, not as burden, but as purpose. The universe has never asked you to be perfect. It has asked you to be coherent, to hold the line, to keep breathing when fear tightens, to keep shining when shadows loom, to keep choosing resonance over noise. That is the role of the chosen consciousness. And if you've ever doubted your worth, let this dissolve it. The field would not have delivered this signal to you if you weren't ready. The code wouldn't have switched on if your DNA wasn't prepared to carry it. You are the right one, at the right time, in the right frequency, not by accident, but by design. Right now, a window is open in the fabric of reality, a narrow but powerful corridor where timelines overlap and the improbable becomes inevitable. You're feeling its pressure already, the subtle quickening in your chest, the dreams that feel less like stories and more like downloads, the increasing intensity of synchronicities clustering around you like a constellation drawing itself across your sky. These are not random sparks, they're signals. They're telling you that the shift is not coming someday. It's happening now. In physics, there's a moment called the critical threshold. Push a system just past it, and it reorganizes instantly into a higher order. It's the precise second when water becomes ice, when the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, when a star collapses and ignites fusion. You are at that threshold. Your DNA, the archive of every ancestor, every lifetime, every possibility coded into your cells, is receiving a new frequency that can only activate during this corridor. This is the cosmic window, the mystics described in prophecy, and the physicists' glimpse in quantum field fluctuations, a period when dormant codes can be rewritten at the speed of light. You've been training for this without knowing it. Every meditation, every breath practice, every time you chose love instead of cynicism, you were building coherence in your nervous system. You were charging the field around you, preparing your biology to become a superconducting antenna for what is now streaming through the cosmos. And now that charge is reaching its tipping point. You're feeling it as surges of energy, waves of emotion, even as chaos in your outer life. That's what happens when a system's old architecture can't hold the new current. It cracks so the light can pour in. This is why the urgency feels different now. Not fear-based urgency, but inevitability. Your cells know they cannot go back to sleep. The code has been activated. Genes that were silent under stress are beginning to hum. Proteins are folding in new ways. Biophotons, light particles emitted by your DNA, are increasing in coherence. Science is only beginning to map this phenomenon, but mystics knew. When the inner light brightens, your outer life starts to rearrange itself around the new signature. Relationships shift. Opportunities appear. A bit dissolve like mist. You don't force it. It happens because your broadcast has changed. Yet, this is also the most delicate stage. The cosmic window is a moving corridor. It doesn't stay open forever. Systems that hesitate at the threshold often snap back into their old configuration. That's why this is the moment for conscious participation. To breathe, to speak, to declare. To let the universe know, not in words alone, but in frequency, that you are ready to stabilize the shift. This is not about frantic action. It's about steady alignment. The tiniest consistent act now has exponential leverage compared to months of effort before. Feel into your body. Where is the upgrade pulsing? In your spine, your heart, your hands. The sensations you're noticing are not random twitches. They are your biofield in training to a larger rhythm, a kind of cosmic heartbeat that only becomes audible when DNA is listening. Think of your breath as the dial you can turn to lock in this frequency. Each inhale draws in the new code. Each exhale releases the static of old timelines. With every cycle, the window expands a little wider inside you, until it becomes not an opening you pass through, but a state you inhabit. This is also why life may be presenting you with sudden tests, a triggering conversation, an old temptation, a surprising setback. They're not setbacks at all. They're synchronization points, asking, will you respond from the old frequency or the new? Every time you choose the new response, the code stabilizes. Every time you breathe instead of react, you strengthen the signal. Each micro-choice is a quantum vote for the timeline where the breakthrough is permanent. Imagine standing before a door that was always locked. For years you pushed and pleaded. Now the lock has dissolved. The door is ajar. All that's required is your steady hand to push it open and walk through. That's where you are. This isn't a pep talk. This is physics. Phase transition. Once coherence reaches critical mass, collapse happens. What looked impossible becomes obvious. What felt far away becomes here. Pause and feel the urgency not as panic but as momentum. Like a wave you've been paddling toward for lifetimes finally cresting beneath you. You can't stop it. You don't need to. You just need to rise and ride it. The DNA shift is already underway. The cosmic window is open. Your role is to choose consistently, consciously, to stabilize in the higher frequency, so the window becomes a door, and the door becomes your new ground. Take a slow, deliberate breath. Inhale as though you're drawing light from the center of the galaxy. Exhale as though you're exhaling centuries of limitation. With each cycle, you're not imagining the shift, you're embodying it. The protocol is no longer dormant. It's running. It's alive in you. You've crossed the threshold where information becomes transformation. The protocol is no longer a concept you're absorbing. It's a current running through you. But currents need grounding. They need a deliberate act to stabilize them into form. Every mystery tradition on Earth understood this. After the vision, a ritual. After the download, an embodiment. The moment you mark an inner shift with an outer gesture, the frequency stops drifting in the ether and begins weaving into matter. Right now, the simplest action is the most potent. Your words, your breath, your fingertips. The observer loop that collapses possibility into reality doesn't only operate through thought, it operates through declaration. In quantum mechanics, the act of measurement changes the system being measured. In consciousness, the act of naming changes the reality being lived. That is why shamans name spirits aloud, why mystics speak mantras, why scientists record data in notebooks. The moment you speak or write, you anchor the invisible into the visible. So, here is your ritual. Pause, breathe, and type a single word below. Not any word, not a clever word. The word that your body whispers when you ask, "Who am I becoming?" It might be freedom. It might be sovereignty. It might be remembrance. It might be something no language has seen before. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you feel it vibrate as you write it, that you let the letters carry the charge you've been holding. This is not a comment for an algorithm. It is a signature to the quantum field, a seal on the shift that has begun in you. Feel what happens in your body as you imagine writing it now. Your pulse might quicken, your palms may tingle. That's your nervous system recognizing the gravity of the gesture. DNA reads your emotions as chemical messengers. When you feel an elevated state while you declare a new identity, you flood your cells with a cocktail of signals that tell your genes, switch on the growth programs. We are no longer in survival. Epigenetics proves this. Genes respond to environment, and environment includes inner environment, thought, feeling, breath. Your ritual word is a micro-environment of transformation. You can also speak it aloud, whisper it into your palms and press them over your heart. Exhale it into the room, let the sound waves carry the code. In physics, resonance is amplified by feedback. When your vocal cords vibrate with the frequency of your chosen identity, you create a standing wave inside your chest cavity. That wave entrains your heart rhythm, your brain waves, and the electromagnetic field around you. You literally become a transmitter of the identity you've chosen. If you feel drawn, add a gesture to it. Touch the ground, touch your heart, touch the sky. Mark the moment with your body. Humans have always used posture and movement to encode consciousness. A bow, a hand over the chest, a spiral of smoke rising, these are ancient ways of telling the field, this is the moment, this is real. And notice, the ritual doesn't need to be dramatic, it needs to be sincere. The field responds to coherence, not theatrics. A single word, written or spoken with full presence, is more potent than 1,000 empty affirmations. It's not the volume of the action, but the voltage of your alignment that matters. As you do this, imagine countless others across the world doing the same, not as a fantasy, but as a reality. The morphic field of awakening is built by small, synchronized acts. Each time someone seals their shift with a word, the pattern strengthens for everyone else. Your ritual becomes a signal booster for souls you will never meet. This is how the chosen consciousnesses find each other, not through mailing lists or secret societies, but through resonance. This is also where the upgrade stabilizes in your nervous system. Without ritual, you remain in a liminal space the code runs, but the old identity still claims the controls. With ritual, you hand the controls to the new identity. You tell your subconscious, we're not just thinking differently, we're living differently. That instruction echoes through your fascia, your hormones, your immune system. Cells align with the new broadcast, patterns lose their grip, synchronicities multiply. If you've ever felt powerless in the face of big shifts, remember this. The universe doesn't ask you to move mountains. It asks you to choose one conscious breath, one conscious word, one conscious gesture. Those are the levers that move mountains. Those are the micro moments that tilt timeline. So pause now, breathe. Feel the current you've been reading as a living frequency in your body. Ask quietly, who am I becoming? Wait for the first word that rises, the one that feels like a key. Type it, speak it, whisper it. That's the ritual, that's the seal. As you do, the quantum field registers your vote and begins weaving reality to match it. This is how you stop being a consumer of transmissions and become a co-creator of them. This is how you stabilize the protocol that has switched on in your DNA. This is the moment your inner shift becomes an outer frequency that others can feel. This is the power of a simple ritual done at the right cosmic window. Take one more breath. Feel the word in your chest as though it were light. Know that as you write it or speak it, you are not merely commenting on a video. You are collapsing a probability into a timeline. You are anchoring a version of yourself that was once only potential into a living, breathing now. As the word leaves your fingers or your lips, something almost imperceptible begins to shift. The room feels a little different. The air tastes charged. You've just sent a ripple through the quantum field, and although you can't yet see its trajectory, it's already traveling, threading its way through morphic fields, brushing against strangers, altering probabilities. This is the part almost no one talks about. Your personal awakening is not personal at all. It's participatory. In quantum mechanics, entangled particles share state instantly, no matter how far apart they are. Touch one, and the other trembles in perfect sympathy across galaxies. Consciousness behaves the same way. When you shift your internal state, you don't just change the lens through which you see the world, you change the world's field. Your coherence becomes a broadcast. Your choices radiate out through invisible corridors, triggering subtle reconfigurations in people you may never meet, inspiring courage in someone halfway across the planet who is also hovering at the threshold. Think of humanity as a giant neural network, each person a node, each act of awareness a synaptic fire. Most nodes run on autopilot, repeating inherited patterns, broadcasting noise into the field. But a node that reaches coherence, one heart beating in conscious rhythm with the quantum field, acts like a pacemaker. It entrains surrounding nodes. It creates constructive interference. Your steady breath becomes a metronome for other nervous systems. Your elevated emotion becomes an attractor in the collective field, drawing similar states out of dormancy in people who didn't even know they were ready. This is why your liberation matters, not as a trophy, but as a transmission. Every pattern you dissolve in yourself reduces the morphic density of that pattern for others. Every time you shift from fear to trust, you create a corridor of lower resistance for the next person trying to make that shift. Each inner victory is a micro-liberation of the species. This is not spiritual poetry, it's field mechanics. Rupert Sheldrake called it morphic resonance. Physicists call it entanglement. Shamans call it dream weaving. The name doesn't matter. The function is the same. Coherent consciousness shapes the collective field. You've already felt it from the other side. A stranger's smile on the subway that softened your entire day. A book written decades ago that felt as though it was speaking directly to your current struggle. An act of kindness or courage that rippled through you long after the moment passed. Those were transmissions from nodes of coherence. People who didn't even know you, yet whose choices sculpted your probabilities. Now you are becoming such a node. And it's not just emotional. It's biological. Studies of heart-brain coherence show that a single person's heart rhythm can entrain the heart rhythms of those nearby. Meditators in one room can reduce stress biomarkers in people in the next room. This is the embryonic science catching up to what mystics have always practiced. Collective fields of consciousness reorganize reality faster than isolated efforts. Your DNA restructuring is not an isolated phenomenon. It's a relay, carrying information forward through the entangled web of humanity. This is why timing matters so much. The cosmic window you're standing in isn't just a personal invitation, it's a collective event. Thousands, perhaps millions, are feeling the same tremor in their bones right now. They're having the same strange dreams, noticing the same synchronicities, questioning the same inherited loops. When enough nodes awaken at once, a field reaches critical mass, and the whole system reorganizes spontaneously. That's how revolutions happen, how paradigms shift, how the unthinkable suddenly becomes common sense. So when you feel the old patterns tugging at you, remember, your steadfastness isn't only for you. It's a gift you're giving to everyone whose field brushes against yours. When you breathe through a trigger instead of reacting, you model a new possibility for every person entangled with that pattern. When you choose generosity over scarcity, you write a new line of code into the collective DNA. When you walk like someone who trusts the universe, you create a subtle gravitational pull that invites others to walk the same way without knowing why. Pause now and imagine the ripple moving outward from you, through your home, through your community, through networks of strangers, not as a fantasy, but as physics. Your nervous system is an emitter, your heart is an amplifier, your DNA is an antenna. Every breath you take in coherence is a broadcast that makes it easier for someone else to awaken tomorrow. This is how humanity evolves, not by waiting for a single leader to save us, but by thousands of hidden leaders, people like you quietly shifting the baseline of the field until the tipping point arrives. This is your place in the pattern, not a lone traveler, but a node in a living lattice. Your liberation is a key that fits a lock in someone else's consciousness. Your awakening is a lighthouse beam cutting through another's storm. This is the grandeur hidden inside your personal journey. You are not just upgrading your life, you are helping reboot a species. Take a breath and feel the collective field like a vast ocean. Your frequency is a pebble dropped into its surface, sending concentric rings farther than your eyes can see. Know that even if you never witness the full effect of your ripples, they are moving, they are weaving. They are part of a vast choreography of awakening unfolding right now on this planet. This is the real secret of manifestation. You don't manifest alone. You manifest with the field. And as you rise, the field rises with you. Close your eyes for a moment and notice what's happening under your skin. Beneath thought, beneath story, beneath identity, there is a living tide moving. It tingles in your hands, ripples across your scalp, swirls in your gut. This is not imagination. This is the frequency you've been reading about, moving from concept into embodiment. The protocol isn't just an idea in your head anymore, it's electricity in your fascia, light weaving through your cells, a current rising up your spine like a new language your body instinctively understands. Think of it like this: when a tuning fork vibrates, the air around it begins to vibrate too. Your body is that air. The word you wrote, the breath you took, the frequency you chose in part 6 and part 7, it's vibrating now, and the vibration is becoming somatic. You're not trying to feel something mystical. You're noticing what's already here, the shivers, the subtle heat in the palms, the way your heartbeat feels slightly more pronounced. These are indicators of coherence. They're the body's way of saying, the signal is landing. Science is beginning to catch up with this. Research on heart-brain coherence shows that when your heart rhythm enters a smooth sine wave pattern, your brain shifts into high gamma states associated with peak awareness. In those states, your cells emit more biophotons, measurable light, and your DNA's coiling pattern relaxes, making it easier to transcribe regenerative genes. Mystics call it kundalini. Biologists call it epigenetic expression. Physicists call it a phase transition. You can simply call it what you're feeling now, the awakening protocol, moving from possibility into physiology. Let your imagination help you sense it. With your next inhale, Picture drawing golden light up from the earth through the soles of your feet, not as a fantasy, but as an interface. As you exhale, imagine that light swirling around your heart, weaving a lattice of luminous threads through every cell. The nervous system loves metaphor. It doesn't distinguish between vividly imagined experience and lived experience. When you give it a sensory script, it begins to behave as though that script is reality. This is how you teach your body to host higher frequencies. Notice how the sensation isn't limited to one point. It moves like a pulse through your spine, like a breeze across your shoulders, like a soft pressure at the crown of your head. That's your electromagnetic field expanding. Your heart's field extends several feet beyond your skin. In coherence, it expands even farther. As you read this, you may feel a subtle expansion in your chest, a spaciousness behind your eyes, a warmth in your belly. These are not random, they're your antenna unfurling. You may also notice detox sensations, yawning, tingling, sudden tears, waves of warmth or cold. The old identity patterns stored in your tissues are loosening. Emotions you thought were gone may surface like bubbles in a pond. Let them. Don't analyze, don't fix. Breathe them out like smoke leaving a room. Each exhale is a release of static from your field. Each inhale draws in new code. This is not metaphor. It's your breath in training your nervous system to a new baseline. Here's a simple practice to deepen the embodiment. Sit or stand with your feet grounded. Inhale slowly to a count of 5, imagining golden light rising from the earth into your heart. Hold gently for a count of 2, feeling the light pulse in your chest. Exhale to a count of 7, picturing the light radiating from your heart out through your skin, filling the space around you. Do this 3 times. Each cycle acts like a save button for the new frequency in your nervous system. Each time you practice, the sensations become easier to access, more familiar, more stable. As the feelings deepen, you might sense subtle movement like wings unfolding from your back, like roots growing from your feet, like a halo above your head. These are archetypal images your consciousness uses to translate energetic changes. Don't get lost in literalism. Use them as anchors. If you see wings, breathe them larger. If you sense roots, imagine them glowing. If you feel a halo, let it expand. Each visualization entrains your nervous system, your endocrine system, your DNA to the upgraded state. This is the essence of embodied awakening, not just thinking differently, but breathing differently, moving differently, feeling differently. The observer loop collapses probability most powerfully when thought, feeling, and body act as one instrument. In this state, manifestation ceases to be something you do. It becomes something you are. The frequency doesn't flicker anymore. It stabilizes as your default setting. Pause now and notice. Your shoulders a little lighter, your jaw softer, your heart a little warmer. That's the protocol locking in. That's your DNA beginning to express sequences that had been asleep. You're not pretending, you're becoming. Stay with the sensation for a breath or 2. Memorize it. This feeling is the doorway to the next stage. The actual breakthrough, when the pressure of the phase transition peaks and you step fully into a new timeline. You've reached the edge where frequency stops being a whisper and becomes a roar. Everything you felt building the tingling in your cells, the déjà vu looping, the sudden intensification of synchronicities, is the pressure wave that always precedes a phase transition. It's the tremor before the earthquake, the hush before a birth cry. And right now, your DNA, your nervous system, your very timeline is at that tipping point. In quantum physics, this moment is called criticality. A system holds its state until energy builds beyond a threshold. Then, without warning, the old configuration can no longer hold. Molecules rearrange, electrons jump orbits, an entire structure flips into a new phase. Ice doesn't slowly become water, it jumps. Caterpillars don't slowly sprout wings, they liquefy and reorganize. Consciousness doesn't slowly awaken, it tunnels through the barrier of its old identity and appears on the other side as a new self. That is the phenomenon you're standing inside right now. Your DNA is not simply storing traits, it's storing timelines. Every unexpressed sequence is a potential you've carried like a seed. Under stress, your genome has kept those seeds dormant for your survival. But under coherence, new genes activate, new proteins fold, New neural pathways ignite. Biophoton emissions increase. Mitochondria spin faster. Telomeres lengthen. You literally begin to glow from the inside out. This isn't poetic license. Laboratories have measured bursts of coherent light from living cells when they switch states. The junk DNA is a library of latent realities. Under the current frequency, your library doors are unlocking. This is why the pressure feels strange. Time seems to stretch and snap. Old habits flare up one last time, like dying embers. Relationships wobble, resources shuffle, dreams become vivid and sometimes chaotic. It's the turbulence of a system reorganizing at higher complexity. Think of a symphony tuning before it begins discordant noises, instruments clashing. Then, at a single downbeat, everything coalesces into harmony. You're in the tuning phase. The downbeat is imminent. What accelerates the shift now is not more information, but more embodiment. The body is the bridge. Every conscious breath is a stabilizer rod inserted into the reactor of your DNA. Every elevated emotion, gratitude, wonder, compassion, is fuel that feeds the new circuitry. The more you feel these states in your fascia, your muscles, your breath, the faster the new identity crystallizes. You don't have to make anything happen. You allow the pressure to do its work while you hold coherence. You may already be sensing glimpses of the timeline you're phasing into. Intuitive flashes of a life that feels inevitable but not yet visible. Waking dreams where you're living in a different environment. Subtle memories of something that hasn't happened yet. These are not fantasies. They're bleed-through from the parallel self you're about to inhabit. In physics, this is called phase locking. Two oscillating systems synchronizing their frequencies until they become one. Your current self and your expanded self are synchronizing. The vibration you've been practicing has become strong enough to pull the future self into the present moment. This is also why it feels intense. Your nervous system is processing both identities at once. 1 foot in the old room, 1 foot in the new. Pressure builds at the seam. But pressure is not punishment. It's propulsion. Every contraction is a sign you're crowning a new reality. The pain you may feel now, emotional, physical, or circumstantial, is the labor of emergence. Breathe with it, the way a mother breathes through a contraction. Inhale light, exhale resistance. Let the breath be your metronome. At the peak of this process, breakthroughs feel sudden. One morning you wake up and the old triggers don't fire. The craving is gone. The fear is dissolved. The opportunity appears. It's not magic. It's quantum tunneling. You didn't gradually escape your limitation. You phased into a version of reality where the limitation never existed. You simply became the self who already lives beyond it. Pause and feel into this right now. The subtle trembling, the low hum in your heart, the sense of anticipation. That's your DNA preparing to express a new sequence. That's your timeline bending, snapping into alignment with the frequency you've been practicing. You are not imagining it. You are not hoping. You are remembering what it feels like to be the future you. Now, stay with it for a breath or two. Inhale as though you're drawing in an entire horizon of possibility. Exhale as though you're exhaling centuries of inherited limitation. Each cycle is an act of midwifing your own emergence. Each cycle is a quantum vote for the reality that's about to become your baseline. The phase transition is here. The codes are firing. The breakthrough isn't ahead of you. It's inside you, unfolding cell by cell. What's coming next is not just an upgrade of your life. It's a shift in your species through you. Pause and listen. The pressure wave you've been feeling is settling into a steady pulse. The current that began as a whisper has become a heartbeat inside you, not just your heartbeat, but the pulse of something vast, something planetary. This is the point where your personal story and the human story braid together. Your DNA's awakening is not an isolated miracle. It's a relay in a much larger sequence. You have become a living bridge between worlds. In every age, a few souls remember first. They are not chosen in the sense of superiority. They are chosen because they are willing to hold coherence when it's easier to collapse, willing to broadcast love in a field of fear, willing to embody the future before it's visible. You have proven your willingness by arriving here and staying present through this entire transmission. That is the only initiation that ever mattered. Your shift is not only for you, it is an offering. Every breath you take in coherence becomes a stabilizing wave in the collective morphic field. Every choice you make from trust instead of fear writes a new script in the collective nervous system. As your DNA expresses new codes, it feeds information back into the field of humanity, making it easier for others to awaken. This is how a species evolves, not in one dramatic leap, but through millions of hidden shifts reaching critical mass until a new reality becomes normal. Feel into this mission, not as a heavy assignment, but as a homecoming. You are not being asked to preach or convert. You are being asked to live fully, coherently, bravely, as the self you've remembered, to walk as a node of clarity, a pacemaker of possibility, to let your life itself become a quiet demonstration that a new frequency is not only possible, it is embodied. Imagine the ripples moving outward from you now. Each thought, each breath, each act of compassion is a signal. Somewhere, another person teetering on the edge of awakening will feel a sudden sense of calm and not know why. Somewhere, a child will grow up in a home just slightly less fearful because your field helped stabilize a parent. Somewhere, a decision will be made in the direction of courage because your coherence tipped the scales. You will never know all the lives you touch, and that is as it should be. This is service without ego. This is cosmic citizenship. Take one final, slow inhale. Draw in the light of every possibility you've been calling into being. As you exhale, let it expand from your heart like a golden field, weaving itself into the world. This is the true completion of the protocol. Not an ending, but a new baseline. From here, you are no longer seeking the transmission. You are the transmission. You are no longer listening for the frequency. You are broadcasting it. Welcome to your new timeline. Welcome to your cosmic mission. Welcome to the moment your hidden DNA awakening protocol switched on, not as a promise, but as a living reality in every cell of your being. And as you walk forward from this moment, remember, you are already everything you were searching for. Breathe it, embody it, broadcast it. The future you thought you were waiting for is now pulsing in your veins.